We just returned yesterday from a 2,000-mile round trip hauling the Spyder on the Aluma MC210 trailer. I had done a review the other day of loading the Spyder on it before we left, so I thought I'd let you know how it worked on the trip. Overall, I was very pleased with the trailer. It pulled very easily, which I certainly expected, and it did. As far as the weight of the Spyder on the trailer, seemed to be about right, and didn't notice anything trying to move like it shouldn't. The part that I had really looked forward to worked as well or better than I had hoped, and that being the loading and unloading. To be able to simply detach and then open the ramp up and bring it off, bring it right back up, that was so much easier than what I'd been doing before, and very pleased with that. The only thing that I ran into was the Spyder actually did move some during the trip. Actually, it moved, first noticed it at the first stop at about 75 miles. And that was really quite concerning when it happened. As I had said in the first review, that my concern was not the Spyder shifting back, but rather shifting forward under braking. And after about a 75-mile run, and every time I stop, I check the tension on the straps to make sure everything's good. When I came to the front, these straps were basically just laying on the floor. They were still hooked, but absolutely no tension on them, no tension on the bike whatsoever there. While on the back side, it had moved probably 4 inches forward, and I didn't think it would do that. That surprised me when that happened. When I had loaded the bike, I had it to where the tire basically came all the way back to the end of this squared off mark here. After I had adjusted the tension on the straps, the bike was about 5-6 inches from being able to touch the box that I had installed. So that was a little concerning. At the next stop, that was probably about the same amount of mileage, again, there was slack on the front, not as much as what I'd had the first round, but the bike had moved to within, I'm gonna say 4 inches of touching the box up there. Now it's really got me concerned as to what am I gonna do. At each stop, I would tighten these straps and again back here. After, I'm gonna say, the first 300 miles or so, finally, everything had stretched out as far as it was stretching, and then I could still get a little bit of looseness up here where I kept adjusting the tension, but as far as anything moving forward, it was very minute at that point. When I loaded the bike, I had it to where it came back to basically right there. And it moved to about where you see it right now, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 inches or so. So that 4 inches took all the pressure off the front straps. On the back, while it doesn't look like much, I keep trying to fight the sun here. And I'm still fighting the sun. This strap was at about 90 degrees up and down, and then under braking it had managed to slide forward some to where it's hard to tell it now, but it was dead center on this right here, and you can see now that it's moved forward about 4 inches. I wasn't sure to solve the problem if I was going to have to use chocks. That certainly would solve the problem if I could get it ratcheted down and then locked down on the chocks. That's not a direction I really want to go though. And so what I ended up doing is when I loaded, once we had made the 1,000-mile trip down, we went to Key Largo, Florida. Then when I loaded the bike back up, I had put the bike in neutral and I left the front just loose, and then I tightened the back as tight as I could get it, and then put the bike in neutral and just shoved it as hard as I could forward, and then locked the brake down on it. This is how it was loaded that day in Key Largo. And it did still move forward when I pushed forward on it at that point, but I had adjusted the tension a lot more back here before I had pushed it forward, and so there wasn't as much slack to be taken up. And then after I pushed it forward, then again I made it as tight as I could possibly make it back here. Then I tightened the front. On the way back, there was minimal slack that formed on the front, and I'm gonna say the bike probably didn't move a full inch forward on the way up. So it did what it was supposed to do. As far as these straps back here, they are tight, and it is tight, and that's the way that needs to be able to hold this thing still. As far as the front goes, on the way back, there was still some minimal slack that formed in those, so there was a little bit of movement on the bike, but it was minimal. And then just the simple fact that anytime that you use these straps, they're going to flex just a bit, so no matter what, you have to check these things and tighten them up to get it to where they finally reach a form that there's just no more slack to be had in them. Again, the trailer I thought worked great. I really enjoyed it, and carrying it now at that point, that's 2,000-mile round trip under, just any kind of conditions you'd expect on the road, any kind of, oh my goodness, road construction, and come to a bridge and it bounces you up like this. And I don't mind telling you, I've installed a rear view camera that I can turn on at any time that I want to in the Tiffin, and I did watch it from time to time, even though it all looks about the same, and I'm very confident that bike's on that trailer behind me, but it sure makes you feel better to look in that camera on that viewer and be able to see that picture and go, yeah, everything's still good back there. Well, that's my story about how the trip went. Hope you enjoyed it.